name's Courtney Garrity. So what I started with was mainly the castle. That's like the sets that came out. And then more sets came out and I kept just expanding. So a bunch of the sets on here, it's still the set, but then some of them I made bigger. I added more walls and things like that. And then I probably moved on to doing the Dark Forest and setting that up. And then I probably moved on to designing a lot of the buildings now. I designed Hogsmeade Station and the rest of Diagon Alley, the Grimwald's house, the Privet Drive, and the Malfoy Manor. And then the Burrows came out, but I designed it differently to set it up how I wanted to. I did spend a lot of time watching videos, looking at pictures, trying to make it as realistic as possible and as many details as I could.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think you captured so much of this nicely. So let's start kind of in this area here. You can maybe take us through kind of these underground scenes and then some of what we have happening up top.
Okay, so down here is the Chamber of Secrets. Some of it is from the original set from, I believe it was 2002 it came out. And then when the new set came out, I combined them because I think the Basilisk looks more like what it did in the movies. So that's what I did with that.
And then what do we have happening? Well, obviously you've added like tables and lots of minifigures and so many details up here.
Yeah, so up here is the Yule Ball going on, and then we have classrooms going on and just kids hanging out in the hallways. On the other side, there's also Slughorn's, his party that he had, and just more, I tried to design some of the professor classrooms and things like that, so.
Yeah, what are these minifigures all from the Harry Potter sets Lego's done? Did you kind of customize anything or kind of combine parts up?
Yeah, so a lot of them are ones from the sets, but then I went and bought a ton of torsos and different hair pieces and things and made a lot of extra characters. I do have the the ghosts, so I did design them. So that's what I did with mainly the minifigures.
So let's move over to the forest then and take us through kind of each of the scenes you have represented here.
Okay, so this is the Dementor's Kiss and Harry putting the stag out to make them go away. And then over here we have the little Thestral scene with Luna and Harry. And then we have Gwarp with Umbridge and the Centaurs coming to attack. And then we have Hagrid's hut. But finding the crows was fun. I found one person that had 300 of them. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going to buy a couple. Because I really thought the crows bring it a little more to that scene. And then we have Aragog's lair. So I got a bunch of spiders and just started sticking them on and kind of built the cave. And then over there is the Quidditch pitch. So it's Slytherin and Gryffindor going at it. I did customize some of the minifigures on there to have it go with the crowd. And then it's the Hungarian Horntail. So that was a set, but then like the little bleachers I made myself. And then next to it is the Owlry, which I designed myself.
That's great. So you were able to really, take maybe some small portions that Lego had done, but then turn it into this whole creation and create all these scenes yourself.
Yes, that's what I did, yep.
So let's keep walking around here then, and we'll see what else we can show off. It looks like you've got a bunch of scenes underneath here.
So these are all the challenges that they go through in the first movie. So it shows here Fluffy with Ron getting stuck and scared, and then he falls through, and it's Harry and Hermione on the bottom trying to save him. And then it goes into Harry having to get the key that's flying, and then it goes to the chess set where Ron saves the day. And then at the end, it's the final scene with Quirrell and Harry stopping Quirrell.
So was it difficult kind of stacking these builds on top of each other and making sure you had room for everything and still structurally was strong enough?
Yes, yeah, that was a challenge. The castle is actually on a platform to make because the castle is very heavy. So that's what I did to help keep it sturdy and so it wouldn't fall.
No, that works well. I like this kind of like greenhouse building. You got all the glass pieces in there.
Yeah, I had designed that actually a couple years ago, and I just kept building on it with adding just more plants and the scenes, and then we got a better Professor Sprout, so I added her in.
And then before we transition to the rest of the buildings, what do we have here?
So this is the Bay of Batons, I think is how you say it, carriage. They come in the Goblet of Fire because they're doing the Goblet of Fire challenge. So that's the carriage for that. And that was a set.
And the rowboats out there in the water.
Yep, the rowboats, I just bought a couple extra ones. They'd come with a set, and I bought a couple extra ones to just added the students in.
I like the variations in tree design here you've got as well, a number of different types of designs.
Yeah, I really wanted to bring out the plant life and make it look realistic and make people feel like, they're in the forest. I did a lot of research on finding different trees that people had done and then taking my own twist on them.
And then over here we've got Diagon Alley.
Yeah, so Diagon Alley, the one side is the set that came out, and then I designed it the rest of the other side. I did a lot of research watching that scene, a lot of time to get the details. I'm really happy with the stickers I made. And then Gringotts, I just took the set from 2010 and just made it bigger.
So talk about some of the customizations that you did and how you were able to capture some of those buildings.
So on here, I studied it and I looked at the bottom. The tops I kind of had to customize myself because in scenes you can't see the tops of them. And then I would study what the pictures looked like from the London tour, what like the signs looked like. And it was a little difficult finding fonts to match what it was, but I think I did a pretty good job with doing all the fonts. This is actually the Menagerie, so this is where they get their pets and their owls, their cats, their whatever type of animals they use. The next one is the Slug and Jiggers. That's the Apothecary, where they get all their stuff to make potions. The next one is Wiseacre's equipment. That has a lot of like maps and telescopes and things like that. And then the next building is the Elopes, where you mainly get your owls. The building next to it is the Pottages, where they get their cauldrons and those types of things. And then the last thing is Sugar Plum Sweet Shop. And that's, where they have all the candy.
That's great. And you even have interiors on these as well, right?
Yes, yeah. I really wanted to make, like, the Menagerie was probably my favorite one because I love animals. So I tried to make as many of the animals. I researched what, the Wikipedias had on it and tried to design the animals to what they had.
Yeah, it's great when you can include so many details inside there. So great work there. We'll keep moving down here then for a little bit. Or what's the building in the very back there?
So that's the Leaky Cauldron. I designed it so you could see through the side because I wanted you to be able to see like the whole thing. That one was probably my most difficult build because reading the books and watching the movie, they don't make sense. So how it was like set up. So I just tried to go along the best way I could and make it so it's kind of like it's supposed to be the scene when Hagrid and Harry come in the beginning. But I also wanted to add a little bit when you see it in the third movie, so underneath where there's like the tables and people talking and things like that.
Very nice. That takes us to the kind of train station area here.
Yep, this is King's Cross Station. It's a set that came out, and then I built the other side and added the top. And so the cool thing about the train, it's not moving right now, but it stops at both train stations by itself and goes. So
you're able to kind of automate it that way and get some movement in the layout.
Yes.
And then what's happening in this section?
So this is Grimwald's place. This is the park that's in the front. You can see the minifigures are Tonks and Shacklebolt and Mad-Eye Moody. So that's kind of the scene from the fifth movie when they've moved Harry. And then the front is it's Grimwald's place. So I made the middle gray because that's the actual house. So when you see it in the movies, it spreads apart, and that's what you see. But trying to make it spread apart would be a little hard.
No, you still captured it very nicely. Is there details on the back here as well?
Yep. Yeah, I watched a lot of scenes from when they were in there for the Deathly Hallows, when they were there for, I believe it was the sixth movie, when they celebrated Christmas there. They were also there for the Order of the Phoenix. So I looked at a lot of pictures and tried to design the rooms how they looked in what was in the movie.
Yeah, you've got to find so much source material for all these different things, just the research alone.
Yes, the research alone was definitely hours upon hours of finding stuff.
And then as we move around the corner, what do we have over here?
So this is more of just regular London. I love dogs, so a lot of the minifigures have dogs. I tried to get as many as I could. And then next to it is Privet Drive, where the Dursleys live and where Harry grew up. I made that scene from the second movie where Dobby comes to visit Harry, and so.
Okay. Yeah. No, I love the gold statue there in the fountain. That's such a nice touch.
The gold statue came from the Advent calendar, and I was like, I'm going to add a Harry Potter in the middle of it. So.
And that brings us out to kind of the final section here. So let's see, is it the Burrows here?
Yep, that's the Burrows. So that was a set. I made it bigger. I redesigned the kitchen underneath to make it look more like what's actually in the movie. And I added like the Weasley twins and a couple other minifigures. And then it goes into their front where there's a lake. And then the forest I made just to make a separation between the Burrows. And then the big final building is Malfoy Manor. I didn't know what to do with all the bad guys. So I was like, I'm going to design the Malfoy Manor. And that actually grew quite a bit. It was much smaller. And then as I started designing, I wanted to make it bigger. And then I made the Burrow bigger. So I felt like that had to be bigger because it's a mansion. So.
No, the whole layout is just fantastic here. You've captured so many different scenes and details. What is like transport and setup like for this whole thing as you brought this to the show?
So it was quite an ordeal, but it's on 4 different platforms, so they can come up. The castle, it's on its own platform, and then all the buildings are their own base, so I was able to drop them in easily. What took me a little longer was the trees, but I did do a color coding system. So I had like a yellow dot for a certain tree, and then I was able to pick the dot up and put the trees down. So it took me about 2 days to set up.
I'm not surprised. There's so much work here. Is there any plans to change up anything or continue to add on any elements to the layout?
I plan to add a whole Hogsmeade station over there, the Hogsmeade house. I want to do all the buildings, the Shrieking Shack. I'd like to do Luna Lovegood's house. That might be a little difficult because it's such an odd-shaped house. So those are some plans I have. I wouldn't mind doing the Menagerie. I was thinking of putting it underneath. But then I thought it might be difficult for people to have to bend over, so we'll see if I do that.
Yeah, I think that right now, though, it all looks fantastic. Thank you so much for giving us a tour of the layout and for bringing this all out to the show here. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much.